Hey man, how are you today?
I'm good. I almost lost track of time. I was busy, heads down, doing some stuff, and looked up and was like, "Whoa!"
I hear you. It happens. It happens. So we're going to let people get on, and before we do, you realize this is an exciting and another exciting show we're having today about
You say
Google.
that as if there's air quotes around it.
No,
Exciting.
exciting. It's so exciting. People are like, "How are y'all going to make Google guidelines exciting?"
Well,
Uh,
it's important, that's for
It
sure.
is important. So I'm gonna go. I'm pretty sure I can do this, and I got to give Jonathan chops every week just because I like doing it. If I can find it. All right. So I need to preface why this topic is important. So I know there are people that are going to go, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Why are you guys are a marketing company, why are you covering Google guidelines?" So here's kind of a similar conversation. "Hey Taylor, can I do XYZ?" Well, you could maybe do XYZ, but you're really close to maybe crossing over those guidelines that Google has because, they have them not only for websites, but for, you know, Google business profile and, everything else they do. So you got to be kind of careful with the guidelines. And then somebody says, "Really? Google really has guidelines?" And I thought, you know what? Maybe we need to address the fact that, yeah, Google really does have guidelines, but I think some of you will be kind of surprised at how they actually do this and put this together. So I thought it'd be an interesting show, just to give some people some back knowledge on how some of these companies do some of these things. I think it's important to know. So
Now, just to be clear, Taylor, we're not going to go over the entire 172-page Google Guidelines document that they've put out for everyone to be able to see, right?
oh no, the law
Okay.
of Google.
Okay. Good.
I think maybe we should. No, we're not going to do that. We would
Page
be here
one.
for a long, long time if we were going to do that. I tell you what we're going to do though. So, we really do want you to know where to find them and know what they are if you think you're skirting them. So there it is. There's the link to the 172-page document. It really exists. It is, public to the public. You can read through the whole thing. You can figure out what you want to skirt around, what you want to do. But honestly, it's like this: every company has rules and regulations and guidelines that they run their business by. I mean, that's just what every company does. So, you have to at least respect the fact that Google has put together the guidelines and showing everything is this is how we run our company. These are the guidelines of which the internet and how we behave on the internet and how we want everybody to behave on our platform because it is their platform, guys. The internet's not, but Google is their platform. So if you use Chrome and Google and the GPP, I'm gonna have to get used to this. Google Business Profile (GBP). If you use all those things, there are things that you need to know about that. So we're gonna jump in and just kind of give you some highlights here. So who writes the doggone things? This is interesting.
It is interesting. I didn't know this until we were prepping for this, but this is definitely interesting.
Do y'all know that Google actually hires raters, not raiders, not like Raiders of the Lost Ark, but raters. They rate things, and they're called quality raters. And they hire anywhere from 10 to 100,000 people at one time. And what these people do, they just go through and determine how well Google's search algorithm. Man, I'm gonna have a hard time today, aren't I? It's gonna be one of those days I'm gonna be swallowing words. Algorithms actually perform, and if they're delivering really good quality search. And so Google takes the feedback from these raters and puts it together. And that's one of the things that they use to actually tweak the algorithm. And, people will tell you they have anywhere from 200 to 500 tweaks a year. So where are those tweaks coming from? Well, they are coming from those raters. So, and that's just the beginning, because now we're going to talk about the three main sections that they actually use. So, Carter, you want to take that? You can probably talk better than me today.
Yeah, so the three sections are up there on the screen: page quality rating guidelines, understanding mobile users' needs, and the needs met rating guidelines. So the page quality rating guidelines really are just about making sure that the things that need to be there in search results are there, that when somebody does a search in Google, that the pages that are being returned are exactly the pages that have the quality information that's needed to satisfy the searcher's intent. So if the searcher is looking for spaghetti recipes and they get back a page that's all about how to untangle a ball of yarn that looks like spaghetti, then obviously that page has not met Google's quality rating guidelines, which informs Google that they need to make some changes to their algorithm to tighten things up and present information that really is, that's going to be relevant to the person who's searching. So there's three main things that they look at, and this is summarized in an acronym that they use called EAT, or EAT. The first is, the E is expertise. So does the page have, is it presented by someone that we believe has expertise in the subject? Is it presenting factual information that can be backed up? Authoritativeness. Is it being presented by someone who actually knows what they're talking about, or is it being presented as someone who just read a bunch of stuff other places and then put together a page, right? I mean, is it really authoritative? And then trustworthiness goes back to kind of some of those same things. It's a little bit different just in terms of its quality score there for what it's doing. Taylor, if I'm getting any of that wrong, let me know. But I think that's pretty close anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm you're right on. You're right on with all that.
So they're also looking at content quality. How well is it written? Does it follow basic writing guidelines for good writing? I mean, punctuation, spelling, grammar, all of that kind of stuff. But also, is it compelling content? Is it not just dry reading, but actually interesting? And they're judging that based on a whole lot of factors, but there's that as well. They're looking at the ownership of a website and also the website's reputation over time. Does the website have a reputation for presenting good information consistently and meeting the needs of searchers who are searching for content when this website pops up? Which
I'll just tell you, meeting the needs of searchers is kind of that really is their big intent. If you're wondering how the raters rate, when they go in there and actually do a search, they've got an entire list of things that they have to check off that says it meets this criteria. So if it doesn't meet the searcher's criteria, then Google knows they've got a problem. So it's really, really interesting when you get into that. But we're gonna do this because y'all don't want to read probably the entire 170 some odd pages. So we're going to hit some of the high points that we think that really matter here. But before we do, that where you can, that blue thumb up there when we do this, or the red heart that's up there. I don't know if that's a really good heart, but that's as close as my hands will let me do. If you can give us some love and some like, that would be great, because we know that Facebook, who's a whole different other platform than Google, likes and love. So let's give it to them. So, we've got some things that we can say we're at least liked and loved by a few people around. So with that, we're going to hit some of the high points. So we tell people this all the time. Pay attention to what other people say about you. That is your reputation. So you need to pay attention about what other sites say about you. And that also includes in reviews. So, which the next step is address positive and negative reviews. We've been telling this to people for years. Have the conversation with your client, address those reviews, both positive and negative. And lo and behold, that's part of the Google guidelines. They like to see you having those conversations. One of the things that Carter talked about, show off your expertise. This is why people that say, I just want pictures on my website. Well, that's great, but don't just put pictures. If that's all you want on your website, you better have some pictures, some videos, some other things that are showing off the expertise in the area that you are. So you just can't put up pictures. You need to show off your expertise. Clarify who is responsible for the information on the page. Okay, guys, this is a good one, right? Ultimately, if you own the business, you're responsible. How's that for clarification? If you own it, you're responsible for it. So make sure that what gets on the page is what you want said and that you're okay with everything, because you're the one that gets blamed for it if something's up. So, you are responsible. Keep your About Us page updated and current. That means, man, change the pictures, change some of those videos out. If ownership changes, make sure they get updated. Make sure you update the dates. If every time somebody reads it, you're still 30 years in business, 10 years later, you're 30 years in business, your About page is not up to date.
So just a quick tip on that. Don't put the number of years you've been in business, put the year you started.
Yep, that'll work.
That never changes.
That's perfect. So those are the little bitty tips and things. And guys, I'm really disappointed. I got one like. Come on now. I know there's more of you listening. There's a love. Thank you so much. See what happens, what I have to do. I got to beg here. Thank you, Lou. Man. Oh, somebody, Lou Curley to the rescue. Love you, Lou. So some of the other things that I want to talk about, there's some of these things don't really touch on you, but those EAT signals, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Okay. You have some extra things that you have to do and kind of explain and make sure you really do have authority. And there's several things on this list, but the one that really, really hits home with most of home service businesses are safety things, because we talk about safety on the website. So you have to have a little bit of extra signals for that. If you're talking about money or health and fitness, safety, shopping, finance, government or law, news, groups of people, that's, specialized groups like disability, nationality, veterans, those kind of things, college and jobs. So a lot of people are on their website. They've got hiring pages on there. So that's where you need a little bit more of that trustworthiness, that authoritativeness, those kind of things. So just know that that's really important to your website. So again, it just can't be just about pictures. All right. It needs to have particular pictures that show off those kind of things. So Carter, we're going to go into some of those things that ensure your website clicks work a little different, a little deeper into your site that is a little bit more, conversational and informative.
Yeah, this is, we in the industry call it UX stuff, user experience stuff. So this is where when someone is on your site, and whether it's desktop or mobile or both, I mean, Google definitely is concerned about desktop, but they're mostly concerned about mobile these days, because they know, especially in consumer goods and things like that, people are searching a lot of times on mobile devices. So they're looking to make sure that the website functions the way that it should for searchers. So if they're interacting with any of your content, if you have an interactive piece of content, if people can use a form, if they can use, if there's a photo gallery or something that people can interact with? Does it work the way that it's supposed to work on both mobile and desktop? If not, then that creates a problem, and Google is definitely going to slap your hand for that, because Google's guidelines are, if you're going to put it on your site, it should work. So, and sometimes stuff breaks. So just because it worked when you launched your site 2 years ago, don't assume that it's still working today. Periodically go check. I mean, we do that for our clients, but sometimes our clients might catch it, 3 days before we do. And so it's important to let your marketing company know, the company that's responsible for managing your website, to let them know that something you found is not working right, so that it can be fixed and addressed as quickly as possible. Things like the videos on your website. I don't know how many times, back YouTube used to do this a lot. They defaulted so that anytime you embedded a YouTube video on your website, it would immediately start playing the next or another recommended video. And that may be a video from some other site somewhere else on the web. It may not even be really related to your products or service, or it even may be a competitor's website or competitor's content that suddenly starts autoplaying on your website. So you want to make sure that none of that is happening. It's not as common as it used to be. Google's or YouTube's made some changes, but make sure that when you're embedding a video player, that it works on mobile also, and that all the controls are accessible. The volume doesn't start out too loud when somebody hits the play button. How long does the video player take to load video content? I mean, when somebody hits that play button, how long do they have to wait before it starts playing? Those are all considerations that you want to look at when evaluating your video. So the last thing is your calls to action on your website. Every one of you should have some call to action on every page of your website that asks the visitor to take the next step with you toward becoming business, right? Toward a business relationship. Most of the time in home service businesses, that's set an appointment with us or get a free estimate, one of those. So it requires gathering some information, but their call to action is click this button to go to this form, to fill this form out so that we can start the appointment process. Maybe it's chat or something like that, but go through the actual process. Don't assume that because there's a website or there's a button on your site that it links to the form every time. If you've got multiple buttons on your site, click every one of them, make sure that it takes them to the right form. Then don't assume that the form works, fill it out. And don't assume that submitting it is going to work and it's going to go to the right person in your business. Click the button to submit the form and then see where it goes, and make sure that the right person in your business is receiving that form, and that they're getting the information that they need to take action to follow up with that customer who just submitted information. So check your CTAs, check your calls to action, make sure that all of those things are working well as well. Google knows, so you need to know too.
Yeah, and funny story real quick. Got a client that not too long ago. I just went in and did the whole deal on this form, and I said, what do you want? And on the description, I said, tell the business owner that Taylor's just checking out the form, and for him to let me know he got it. That was it. Well, the people in the office thought it was a joke. So when I talked to him, he was like, I never got a form. Nobody ever said anything to me. And I said, well, I don't know if you got it or not. So it was this whole rigmarole. It was quite funny, actually. I got a good laugh out of it. But I was a spammer. I really wasn't. So, and that happens sometimes. So make sure your office knows that if you're checking out your form, that you really are checking out your form. So that's a good thing to know. So the other thing, there's some really low quality things to avoid. And honestly, most of these I have not seen on websites, but let me tell you where I see this. And Facebook's not that different from Google. I see this on some personal Facebook pages. And guys, most of you have businesses tied to your personal Facebook page. Your business page is tied to your personal, and people find out you're the owner and they go visit your personal page. So just be careful about these things anywhere online. I would just say this. So overly shocking or exaggerated post titles. That's trying to get people in. Now, it's totally allowed in the news world, but not in the business world. And Google knows the difference between those.
When somebody goes, and I bet every one of us have done this. You see this tantalizing title and go, oh, I want to know more about that. And you click over to it and it's like, really? That's what this is? No, I don't want to sit here and listen to this guy for the next 2.5 hours talk about a multi-level, whatever it is, clickbait. That's it. Just don't do that. That is not what Google doesn't like that. Next, copied content. Now, here's the thing. There's two different types of copied content. One is syndicated content, and that is more like news content that a news organization has. And so you'll see the same. I have this app called a Smart app. It's a news app, and I can go through it in about 5 minutes. And one of the reasons I can is because AP writes the same thing that NPR writes, that CNN writes, that Fox News writes. They're all writing about the headlines. And so they're all very similar content. That's all syndicated content. So if I was going to share one of those, Google knows that that's a news piece and can be shared. What it's talking about is scrape content. So it's been a few years ago, but we found out just by doing a search, we had somebody just go through our websites, copy the main content on the homepage and see what came up, make sure that content came up. And what we found, we found a site that somebody had come and totally copied all of the content, including the business name, address, and everything, and used it in a different part of the country for their website. And we had to get an attorney involved, the business owner did, and have a cease and desist order to bring that thing down. And they were like, well, it doesn't rank anyway. Well, it's because it was copied, and Google knows it's copied. So don't go out and copy other people's content. That's one of those things you don't want to do.
Or images.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the images online don't say that you can't copy them, but as soon as you copy them and use them, somebody's going to be suing you. And we've seen people, we paid out some money because of that, because we've had some freelancers that went and did that. We were not aware and had gotten caught. So we paid out some fines too, and that's okay. You live and learn. That's what I say. So don't y'all live and learn. Y'all learn from our mistakes, because we've made enough of them. Most of you guys don't do ads, but they're really sensitive about having ads. I have had people ask me that there are some local people that want to put ads on their website for certain things. I just don't think that's a good idea. That's a personal deal, but Google doesn't really want the ads to distract from what you actually do. So I think that's one of those things. 404 pages. So Carter, talk a minute about what a 404 page.
Real quick, let's address Luke Hurley's question up on the screen. What about sharing CSIA articles and images that are intended to be shared? That's a great question. So the main thing about attribution or syndicated content is it comes from somewhere that has created the content, and that has membership and things like that most likely would be the ones sharing that content. The real indicator for Google, though, is if it's attributed right. So when you're taking content from another source and posting it on your website, sometimes the difference between Google thinking it's just scraped content or boosted content from somewhere else and properly attributed syndicated content is just noting that this information comes from this link at this place where this website first posted the content and used with permission. So just by doing that, you're indicating to Google that you have permission to use this content. It's not copied. You're posting it here for educational purposes, as was intended by the original poster. Images are the same way, but images you need to be careful with that too, because images oftentimes are copyrighted separately. You may have permission to use an image on the CSIA website. CSIA may have gotten permission to use that image. But if that image appears on other websites, the person who created that image and gave permission or licensing to CSIA may not have given you licensing to use that image on your website. So it's important to understand and to always ask the question, is this image usable by me in the following place? And if the answer is no, don't do it. If the answer is yes, then oftentimes it'll be with a caveat. Yes, you can use that image on your website, but with permission. In other words, with an attribution that says where the image came from, with a link back to a specific place, and they'll usually be able to provide all of that information for you. The government does this as well. EPA regulations and things about burning and things like that. They've created great resources on their website, and a lot of chimney guys want to use that stuff, and you can, but there are rules that are usually adjacent with that content that explain exactly how it can be used, what attribution is necessary, what linking back to the original EPA website is necessary in order to be able to do that. So just make sure you've got your ducks in a row so that you're not using content unwisely or without permission.
And I'll just throw this in. I know that because we do CSIA social, I know that everything that we use is CSI-owned images and content right now. So we're not using anything that's not owned by CSIA. And if it's something that's NFI, it's identified as such. So just kind of know that. Hopefully that helps as well.
All right. So real quick to the 404 question. A 404 page is just 404 is techie language for page not found. So if you've ever clicked on a link and ended up on a page that said, we can't find this resource, don't know what you're talking about, or just looks like error code or whatever, that's most likely a 404 page. So it's useful and it's a good idea, and Google's guidelines recommend that you provide some kind of feedback and information to the visitor about what to do next. Like, don't just make it a dead end, but tell them, it looks like this is a broken link. This has been reported to the webmaster, but also, you may want to click here in order to do another search or to find more information that might be relevant to what you're looking for. Some kind of guidance to help them understand that. So that's recommended.
And then the other thing is you got to pay attention to keyword intent and freshness. So there's two things. One of the things that we do for our clients is we go in periodically. When I say periodically, it's normally monthly, and we just tweak some words here and there. We don't change the meanings. We don't do a lot of that, but we just kind of tweak, here and there, and make sure that we might change a place that says chimney sweeping to chimney cleaning and go somewhere else that chimney sweeps and put sweeping. So it's the same intent, but we're just kind of moving things around to freshen that page up. The other thing is if we said something like, my gosh, this HVAC company is the greatest HVAC company in the HVAC world, in the HVAC, and we use it and use that keyword, then we're keyword stuffing. So the intent is not necessarily for educational purposes or to be informative. The intent is to stuff all these keywords in there so it comes up when somebody types, I need an HVAC company. Okay, so that's kind of how intent works. So you want to make sure that the content that's on the page is well written, it makes sense, it's not keyword stuffed, but that you also go in and you freshen it up from time to time. So that's really important that we do that. And I've had people ask me, why do y'all do that? That seems like be a totally waste of time. Well, we do it because when the bots come through, they pick up on, and it's like, oh, somebody is paying attention to this website. And that's really what it is. Because if you just put a website up and you don't work it, you don't do anything on it, eventually it will start to slide. And that's how that works. So we want to make sure there's some freshness going on. And it sounds kind of really rote, but it's the consistency. So every month you want to be on your website, making little changes, doing little things, having just little tweaks here and there. And it helps. So, hopefully that helps you. But here's the bottom line, Carter. It's kind of like being married. What does your wife want? You want to stay married? You got to know what your wife wants, right?
And make sure that you're,
That-
letting her have it.
Yeah,
giving her what she wants.
that's it. I know you've only been married once. I've been married twice, and I'm just telling you that's important.
It does better when you.
You know that. So, what does Google really want? All right, what does Google want? Well, it's not really hard. Google wants just some very basic things. All right. Google wants its algorithm to reward high quality content and avoid malicious or thin content. That's it. It's about high quality. They want their websites that they serve up to be of the highest quality, the best information that covers really EAT. I mean, that's what it is. Trustworthiness, authoritative, just great information with expertise. And that's one of the reasons if you have a really well-written, well thought out, well-planned website, most of those websites are the ones that end up getting seen across the board. And that's the both the beauty of knowing that's what you have to do. But if you don't do that, don't know how to do that, don't want to pay for that, then you get what you get. So it's just kind of the way they do it. I'm going to let you take the next two because my voice is going.
Just make sure that your content is helpful. The Google algorithm isn't stupid anymore. It can tell whether or not a page has good information on it, whether it would help people who are searching. So just make sure that it's not up there to be spammy or trying to snare people into clicking and then not delivering what you said you were going to give them if they clicked. And just make sure that it's really helpful information, not just something that looks good or sounds good, that to get them to click. And the last thing is, a site's reputation is not just about the site itself. It's about other people linking to you, right? It's about the offsite stuff that links back to your website, that proves some of those things about expertise and authority. And, you need to make sure that you're participating as a good online citizen everywhere that you are online. If your website's tight and it's working great, but you're using Facebook and Twitter to, spam the world and talk about your politics and everything else, then that can sometimes, have an effect on the way that your website is being viewed by Google. So just be aware that all of those other signals that exist out there around you, you can show up at church every Sunday, sit in the first row, but and people make assumptions about your character based on that behavior, but it's what everybody, in the kids' Sunday school class where you drop your kids off every morning, it's what they know about you based on their interactions with your kids that tells the rest of the story, right? It's what happens outside of those experiences. So just be aware, be careful, and make sure that you're paying attention to the signals outside of just your website. That's it.
And really, the bottom line is what surprises most people is that these guidelines are not written by, corporate America, Google. They're really written by real people that Google hires to just see if they have, if they're serving up the best quality based around their guidelines as possible and tweaking from there. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better about the rules and guidelines. And if you want to know more, man, hey, jump in, read that 172 pages. I'm sure, it would probably put me to sleep.
Light reading, really. I mean, just keep a copy of it in there in the bathroom, and you'll get through it eventually.
Yeah, it's kind of put it with the Constitution and the Bible.
Yeah.
The two other big light reading things.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Yeah, there you go. So, guys, Spark Live can now be found as a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or your favorite player. I've been told we need to check if we can get it on Google Play. If you just ask for it on Google Play or Alexa, somebody told me it should come up. So that would be interesting. I don't have one of those fandangled things in my house. So if you got one of those, try it out. Ask for Spark Live. See what happens. Let us know. That'd be fun. Next week, we're going to talk about conversational marketing and how that you can utilize it. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the internet is much more two-way than we've ever had before, and people are really they get exposed to conversational marketing, they like it, and they're now coming to expect it. So I think we're gonna have a good one next week. Guys, if you have any other comments or questions, please put them in. We're going to wrap it up here shortly. We'll try to stay within our 30 to 40 minute time frame. And if you have anything that we have not covered that you think I would like those guys to cover that, please get me. I am Taylor at sparkmarketer.com, or let Carter know, Carter at sparkmarketer.com. And we'll put it together. We'll do some research and figure it out for you. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. Again, if you can give us some likes and hearts on the way out, that would be awesome. And we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.